ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the IS3 review of the Russian Tier 9 heavy tank. Done this before, but it was old and had bad quality, and this tank is regarded as one of the best Tier 8 heavies, so it deserves better. So here we are, revisiting the IS3. As I said, regarded as one of the best Tier 8 heavies, and for a really good reason. Hull armor, definitely not one of them. So first of all, if you expect hull armor here, you should just change the way you think about this tank. It is not very well armored at the hull at all. If you don't use your gun depression, if you approach your targets flat, or even if you're below their guns, they will have the easiest time ever to pen you, even if they have more than 175 pen. So don't expect to bounce much if you are below your enemies or if you're flat. When you start using gun depression, then you can start thinking about bouncing shots, but before that, don't even think about it. The armor is only 110, and it's angled alright, but I mean, you can't angle 110 that much anyways. And the lower plate is 110, but it is angled better than the upper plate, so you get way better values on the lower plate, and you don't really get penetrated in the lower plate unless you're driving uphill. When we look at the turret, however, we have a different picture here. Really good turret front, 249, not really what you are used to see at tier 9, 8, and the rest of the turret is really good as well. It's pretty much 250 at the front, and the rest is pretty much ricochet zones, or like 400, 500 armor. So don't really expect to pen this, get penned in the turret by anything but tier 10 tank destroyers, and even those will have problems. There is some random spots in the gun mantlet where you can get penetrated, but it's not very reliable, so I wouldn't ever recommend aiming at the gun mantlet, that I can tell you for sure. But I have had games where I get penned in the gun mantlet twice in a row by an IS-7, so that can happen. It shouldn't too often though. But the weakest link in the turret is the roof. 20 armor means that any gun above 60 millimeters in the caliber will be able to just auto-pen this. So hide the roof at all costs. Try to use your gun depression every time you do something, and try to make it as hard to hit as you can. Never sit below your enemies like this and expect not to get damaged. Anybody who has a clue is gonna just put shot after shot in here, and you're gonna get wrecked instantly. And the same goes with your hull. If you don't use your gun depression, or you're using your elevation too much, your hull is gonna become paper. When we talk about side armor, we have the Russian magic, as always here. 190 side armor plus 330 space side armor at angle gives you 500 armor at points. Not every time, but like even this is ridiculous. 280, that's even not with that much angle. If you put it more, then you have the 500 and shit. And frontally as well, these are not hitbox zones. Don't even try to shoot them. The tank is not there. You have to shoot it actually in the middle zones. This, you can tell it by without this even. Like you can see this line. That's not a tank. You don't shoot that. Otherwise, if you have to go for the side, always aim for this part from down here to this point, and you will have reasonable chance of penning it with pretty much any gun. As armor 60, back of the turret 70. HE will, from like a T49, will pen the back of an IS3, but not the back of the turret, so that's what you're after then, yeah. That being said, I'm pretty sure we're ready to go into the soft stats, comparing it to 110, and it's quite surprising picture here. The power to weight is better. The terrain resistance is quite the same, apart from on medium terrain, where it's for some reason gets quite shafted quite a bit. And the gun stats are actually better, because Russia. There's no real reason for these to be that good. Comparing it to 110, 110's gun is not known as being derpy, and this is known as being quite derpy, so it's kind of surprising to see that all the soft stats are better on the IS3 than they are on the 110. That being said, the gun depression is still really bad, -5 frontally and -1 to the back. Gun elevation 23 degrees, which is ridiculously good. That being said, I am sure we are ready to go into the replay. So here's the game, playing on Swamp, tier 9 game, but one feature about the IS3, it's probably the best tier 8 heavy tank at higher tier games. It's not like this is bad matchmaking by any means, but you'll see what I mean. So, first of all, let's look into some stats. 1500 health is not a lot. Some tier 7 heavies have the same amount, and most of the tier 8 medium, some of the tier 8 mediums have 1500 health as well, so not a lot of health at all. Speed limit 38 kilometers an hour forwards, pretty good. 15 backwards, it's alright. It's not really anything spectacular, but you can get around with that. Horsepower per ton 14.26 for a heavy tank. It's really good. Comparing it to a 110 and the Tiger 2, they don't even stand close. View range 350, really bad. Probably the biggest weakness of the IS3. There's not really much you can do to improve it as well, as long as you don't want to go binos on an IS3, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Turret reverse 26 degrees, not great, but it's alright. And when we come to the gun, this is probably the best gun mounted on any of the tier 8 heavies. 390 alpha, 225 penetration, and the aiming time and accuracy is quite shitty. 3.4 second aiming time with 0.4 accuracy. But the thing, as you saw, the soft stats are pretty decent, so the gun doesn't even feel as bad as it should. The DPM here is not even that low. 1758 base. For a gun that hits that hard, it's not actually that bad at tier 8. It is way below the 110s, the DPM and Tigers 2 DPM, but it's not horrible. And the gun depression you saw, and that's pretty much all for the stats for the game. We have met the enemy tier 9s pretty much. I picked up a kill on the 5120, which can't really be regarded as a tier 9, but the rest of the tier 2 are pretty big threat to us. IS8 is not also known as the toughest tier 9 heavy tank, but E75 is. But luckily this E75 has the stock turret, and that is a quite important skill to tell which turret the E75 has. But if you use it using my modpack or pretty much anyone else's modpack, you can tell by the star after the E75's name that he has the stock turret, and it makes such a huge difference on the tank. You'll just see how this gun just eats through his turret without any trouble whatsoever, like that. And since he's carrying the stock gun, you can be able to trade with an IS3 way better against that as well. And trading is what this tank is all about. You try to not get shot and you try to do damage. I mean, that goes for all the tanks, but in this one, you stay hull down, you try to shoot somebody in the face, hope he bounces, hope he doesn't shoot you at all, and then you just fuck off and reload for around 10 seconds, which is a nice time for reload, because it is about the time it takes for you to get unspotted. So that is not the worst thing ever. I could have been playing a bit more aggressive and hugging this Tiger 2 slightly earlier, but now it seems that it's time to do that for sure. And another shot flat into the E75 turret. As you see, this gun has really good pen. Something I forgot to mention, 225 pen, which is definitely on the high end of the tier 8. It's nothing spectacular, but it definitely does the job in tier 9 games. And it can hurt tier 10s as well, well, most of them at least, quite easily. So the tank is extremely capable in higher tier games. It can pretty much do what any other tier 9 or 10 heavy tanks can do, but you are a tier 8, so you're not like the primary target. But if you use this well, you can have some insane games at tier 10 as well. So it's all about the driving here, it's all about your positioning. As you see, I didn't take a single point of damage. I did 3k and I killed 3 tier 9s. Obviously I was backed up by a lot of teammates, but even still I managed to do 3k damage, which is nothing to laugh about. And obviously the enemy tanks weren't the greatest players out there as well, but that's the kind of players you meet most of the time anyways. What mistake they definitely made is crossing the bridge so early. Pretty much how Swamp works is the team that crosses the bridge with more players lose at the start of the game, because it's so easy to kill them. Their positions are not very good and they usually are like seriously outflanked right from the beginning, unless their entire team goes to that middle across the bridge, which doesn't usually happen. So while taking this road trip, equipment you want to use on this has to be rammer, bridge stabs, and then either ventilation or gun length drive. Probably ventilation over the gun length drive. As I said, the gun doesn't even feel so bad, and if you're snapping with this thing, you're doing it wrong. Most of the engagements with this gun should be less than 100 meters distance, and you should be able to hit at those kind of distances no matter if you have the gun length drive or not. I'm gonna go pick up this Tiger 1 if he's not gonna be dead by the time I arrive, and he is dead by the time I arrive. I'm gonna just hug their side of the ridge there so I cannot get shot by the Borsig or whatever else they have, and I get shot by a surprise super pushing. Not that it really matters, it's the first health I lost, yeah, but it's at this point in the game I still will play quite passive, but the thing is, this game is kind of won and there's not a real way for us to throw this away. That being said, anybody who has played World of Tanks knows that the game is won when the 15 enemies are dead, and if you go and die early, then your team has all the rights to throw the game, and they will try their best to do so. So I'm just making sure here that I'll lead this game to its conclusion with our team winning. And crew skill wise, on the IS3, 610s repairs, smooth ride snapshot, everything helps. Aiming is always nice, and the view range skills, even though less important but still can be useful, more useful than something like firefighting. Even though the tank has ammo rack and the gas tank somewhere around the front area, so you don't really want to get shot in that hull all that much. You definitely don't want to show your tracks a lot, because a lot of these tanks have the track ammo rack thing when you get tracked and ammo racked with the same shot, and then you cry in the corner for the rest of the game. IS3 is kind of forgiving, not as forgiving as the IS6 and tanks like that. Well, not really tanks like that. The IS6 is the only tank like that. And here, a bit of a mistake. I should have turned out my hull. I didn't really expect him to try to do that, but he did. My turret didn't turn fast enough to make that shot happen, so I should have turned with my hull more and just try to get him back. But it doesn't. At this point, it does not really matter. I mean, I can. The thing about IS3's HE does almost no damage to it. If I was like a German tank, I could take 400 with each of these shells, but since I'm an IS3, I'll take around 200 every time. Even though my front plate is not that thick, there's so much spaced armor on this thing that D49 doesn't even stand a chance to do any significant amount of damage. The sad part is all my crew is getting wrecked, but since these are the last two tanks left, it doesn't really matter. The playstyle in the IS3 is quite simple. You go hull down, you shoot people in the face, and you bounce off their shots. You never show the roof of your turret. If you can't use your gun depression, then you shoot without aiming. You take your shots quickly, you fuck off quickly, and you profit. Matchmaking, as I said, doesn't really matter all that much. You can do damage to tier 10s as well as you can damage tier 6s. It really does not matter. The DPM is not the greatest, but when you put this tank in this comfort zone, it's probably one of the best rollers in the game as it's at its tier. It's kind of prepares you, kind of prepares you how the IS7 is gonna work. You're gonna get some more hull armor and arguably a slightly worse gun for tier 10 than the BL9 is at tier 9, but it's still a decent training for that. That being said, the end plate, as you can see, Ace Tanker, 4,362 experience with the double, 4,456 damage down, 402 assisted, 13 shots hit after the 14 fired, so pretty damn good accuracy. Then again, most of the shots were at the point blank range, and even the shot that missed was kind of point blank. It was just that I couldn't turn my turret fast enough for that shot. But yeah, almost double the experience of the second guy in my team. Pretty damn good tank, and a pretty decent result for it as well. A must-have tank if you ever consider doing team battles as well. Really flexible for pretty much anything you can do and you can find in this game. So definitely a must-have heavy tank. Really nice to learn how to brawl Russian style, where you just roll up, shoot somebody in the face and roll away. Not really much to do with angling here, just flat out raw alpha and turret armor. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. An IS3 definitely a must-have, and I will see you on the next one.